All right, what's up, guys? Sorry, we were having a little bit of technical difficulty, among other things, but we are here. Thank you guys so much for checking out this special edition of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, and as I said, this is going to be the second, actually, of our special edition episodes for Sdcc Peeps. As I said, we had some wires get crossed. All good. We're going to reschedule the first SDC peeps that we had scheduled for a little earlier. But as I said, the show must go on, and I want to introduce the two guests that I have for today's show. So give me one moment. I'll introduce each of them for you. I have Charles Henri-Avelange. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing okay. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Have one more guest. Give me 1 second. Also have Daniel James Chan. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. I know it's been a minute. It has been a while. So, gentlemen, thank you guys so much for, as I said, coming on the show uh, for this special edition episode for SDCC Peeps. For those of you that have been watching a lot of these special edition episodes, as you know, this week is Comic Con week. In fact, it started today, and it's virtual edition, if you will. Now, for those that are not aware of what SDCC Peeps entails, I've said it once and I'll probably say it many more times this week. For Comic Con, Comic Con is a awesome event. I look forward to it every year. There are elements of it that gets a lot of publicity, the panels, the announcements, some of the things that you can get while you're there. So cool souvenirs. And while all those things are great, one of the other great things about that are the friendships that can be sparked out of that, all the great folks that you get to meet along the way. So in celebration of that, SDCC Peeps are amalgamation of all the various folks that I hang out with over the course of that week during Comic Con. So I wanted to, commemorate that by having each of them on here. So with that being said, I want to introduce each of the guests that you see here to my right, or I should say to your left. Charles, we go, and I really had to think about it. It's actually quite a ways that in terms of when we first met. This was back in, I'm trying to think, I want to say 2013, 2014, because it was back when I want to say, was it No Nobility, the project?
Yeah.
When you were composing that project with Mark. Shout out to Mark. Um, so, and with that being said, like I said, it's been a while in terms of that time that you have been at a Comic Con. How has it been since then?
Well, obviously the most memorable thing that I had at Comic Con was the premiere of Nobility, where you and I met. It was really great, and since then, I haven't had too much the opportunity to go back down. Projects that I was scoring, mainly feature films, the drama thrillers, not really related to science fiction. Had no interest in presenting at the Comic Con, and oftentimes also I found myself. That's funny because I was just seeing some Facebook memories, right, of those times, which is normally around now, and I see myself posting that I am basically locked up in my studio working crazy, uh, and why I can't attend. So that's pretty much how it's been since then. Like pretty much every summer, except for this summer, considering the situation in the world right now. But yeah, that's pretty much how it's been since then.
Awesome. And of course, last but not least, I have Daniel here. Daniel, is a remarkable composer. And if I didn't preface it with that, both of the guests that we have here are composers. So Dan, we go back about 5 years. It was in lieu of by way of Blake. Blake, unfortunately, I know we had him announce here. We'll have him on another edition. But in addition to Blake, I've had been fortunate enough to meet everyone within that team that he has with Cal on the wall. And Daniel, I met right around that time. Like I said, I want to say 2015, 2016. But in that time, I know things have been up in the air in terms of being able to, consecutively go to the show, and for good reason, because you've been plenty busy. So, how have you been, in that time?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think we met, yeah, a few Comic Cons ago. Yeah, Blake brought the whole team down one year, and that's I think how we met. Yeah, I would love to go each year. Certainly, the shows I work on always have something going on. But it's also a matter of like, there's a small window in the summer when there's some downtime and you can get something done or sleep. And some of those times have been important. Or I'll take the rare, like, oh, there's a short film I can fit in between the TV seasons that I'll try to do. So yeah, it's like hit or miss because I love collecting things from Comic Con, and I've missed out on some cool things, and of course hanging out with some people. Um, but yeah, I hope to go. I feel like the next one's going to be amazing because making up for this one, you know. So hopefully I'll make it to the next one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Now, in one of there are going to be some questions that you guys will likely recognize for those of you that have been watching the other editions, and I'm going to throw it to my two guest hosts here. For you all, what would you say? And maybe it was perhaps that time that we initially met. What was your first San Diego Comic Con, and can you backtrack to what was the best memory from that first con? And if you need if you need a second, Dan Charles, if you're able to
Sure.
backtrack, then
I mean, yeah, my first San Diego Comic Con. I'm trying to make sure I'm not um, mixing up 2013 and 2014. I think it was 2014. Nobility was not quite finished yet. We already had a booth, and we were presenting it, and we were going to be able to present, I think, the first like 15 minutes of the pilot. Um, and it was kind of amazing because EJ de la Peña, who was the executive producer on this, had managed to bring together an amazing cast for the show. And that was also the first time that a lot of people working on the show, like myself, were gonna be able to connect with pretty much everyone. And I remember we had a giant panel. Um, we pretty much had the entire cast. You know, we had Tori Ginson, Christopher Judge, James Kaizen, Cass Envar, and all these guys. And the room was packed. And I remember I didn't quite imagine we were gonna have such a big panel. Like the room was huge, the table was super long, and here I was, and I believe at the time I was sitting right next to Christopher Judge and Cass Envar. And so here I was, and that was the first time I was gonna meet Christopher Judge, and I was a huge Stargate fan. And so here I was, and when he arrived, I just like felt like a fan myself, you know. I was just like, oh. And I remember the intensity, like when the cast arrived, like the applause, like people were so excited. And then we show in exclusivity the first 15 minutes, and people loved it. The questions from the fans were always great. Lots of people came talking to me about the score afterwards. It was kind of nice to see like to connect in so many ways, like particularly as composers, you know, I always feel like we're in a dark room, and you know, we don't really touch base with the world, and all of a sudden you get to meet people who actually like consume the product and live through it, and get inspired by it, and connect with like real people that actually have experienced your work. Was very it was a magical experience to me. Oh, I think I'm not hearing you anymore.
Excellent, Dan.
Yeah, no, actually, I think it
I
was
cannot
2000.
hear you right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're all set, Charles.
I think, yeah, I had a similar experience. I think it was like 2016 when that one sticks out for me because it was, you know, when Blake brought me on to write additional music initially for Arrow and Flash and Supergirl, that was like a great job for me. I thought, okay, this is really cool. Get to work on all these projects. And then that just kind of grew and expanded, and eventually we became co-composers on shows. But just that first thing, like you're just so concerned about doing a good job that you're not taking the time to really think about, you know, what happens to this show when you're done working on it. Yeah, you pay attention to ratings maybe, or to make sure you have a job. But for me, going to Comic-Con and going to that Hall H and feeling the crazy energy of these people that were on the other side of the show, and they were excited just for every little bit of information that they could get for the coming seasons. And that was just so surreal and so powerful. And it made me really appreciate the jobs that I had and that I still have, and how it's like people pay attention to this work. It has meaning. It's attached to these like properties that have been around forever. And it just, you really feel like humbled, and you just feel like you're doing something cool and special. And that has like fueled me like each season, knowing that that there's just this energy out there, and that there's this need for it. And that, yeah, I don't think I ever expected it to be working on anything like that, or to have that kind of reaction. And if you happen to talk to people and tell them what you work on, you know, their faces light up, or, you know, and even though you're not an actor, or you're not, you know, in front of a camera, or you don't do interviews and stuff, there's still this appreciation for the work. And that's just cool. As an artist, it's nice to have an audience. Sometimes you work on something and there is no audience. It's just there on your shelf. So it's just like a really magical feedback situation.
Gotcha, definitely. Charles stepped off for a bit. He's coming back on. I think he was having just some audio issues. He'll be back with us momentarily. But with that being said, Dan, just jumping into as I said, they're doing a virtual edition of Comic-Con versus a physical edition. And as you know, there are elements of a Comic-Con that can't really, I feel, be done justice by having it in a virtual capacity versus having it in having it in a physical capacity. So with that in mind, have you already put together, perhaps you've already put together what you as a fan perhaps would like to see out of the virtual edition of the show? And Charles, now that you're back with us, I was just asking in terms of the difference that we have between this virtual edition now and the physical edition. Obviously, it's night and day. There are elements of Comic-Con in its physical form that really cannot be reproduced, while it's nice to have it in a virtual edition. Have either of you put together a schedule of what you perhaps might want to check out? Because there are some advantages of it in that you don't really have to pick and choose which venue you're going to go to, because that, for those that are aware, if you're going to Comic-Con physically, things are purposely put in conflict with each other, so that way everyone is given a fair shot at checking out a lot of the programming. And that's not really going to be the case this time, as it, since some of it's going to be pre-recorded. So what are your thoughts on it, as both of you as fans of the show, but also as folks that have been guests at the show?
Um, well, the obvious thing is like not being able to, go through the shops and like discovering and touching, experiencing the like all the goodies that you find only at Comic Con. That's probably the thing that people are gonna miss the most, and for myself as well. Like now, the advantage of having it virtual though is that I find that being able to do like what we're doing right now, and maybe like even allowing a bunch of fans to actually join the conversation, feel like having like a one-on-one with your favorite artist, favorite actor, or whatever. Like this shows a potential, because all of a sudden when you ask a question in a virtual room like this, you are like quite literally FaceTiming with, I don't know, the person. So it can be quite exciting. um, but as a panelist, it's it's easier, obviously, because we can do that from our respective studios, particularly when we're working. Like right now, I was working on a project. Like it's okay for me to put an hour aside to do this. Whereas going to Comic Con, it's at least a day commitment, a full day commitment to attend a panel, and sometimes more. So it does make it easier for people, for the panelists, the people who are presenting something to attend, I think. And for the future, I think it would be great to, I think the ideal would be a combination of both of that, which I remember advocating back then when I was at San Diego Comic Con, because on some events, some other product things that we were promoting there, like some people could not make it at the last minute or were stuck in traffic. And normally everything should have been there, so like, that person could just FaceTime from their phone and all of a sudden could be on the screen with us, even though they're stuck in a cab somewhere. And so I think for the future, it might be a great thing to try to figure out a combination of both.
Definitely. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, I agree with all that. For me, the biggest thing I miss is the random people you'll go to a panel and sit next to, and then you'll realize like, oh, there's just it's such an easy way to talk to people because you're there, geeking out over the same thing at the same exact time, and so it's that kind of energy that's gone. I feel like they're doing the best they can with the virtual scenario, but it's really not so much checking in on the news or the panelists. It's more like the other people that you would meet or interact with, or like Charles was saying about the marketplace, like the vendors you would see that you wouldn't normally see, or the comic book artists that aren't like at the top level, that they have their own stands there that you get to experience and explore. Like that's lost, unfortunately. But maybe like a hybrid, like you're saying, Charles, like going forward, best of both worlds. That would be cool. Um, that's just my thoughts on it.
Gotcha. And have you guys looked at a schedule? And if so, is there a schedule that you guys have either of you amalgamated from what is happening virtually, or you just haven't had a chance as of yet? Or will there be time? Maybe that's a better question. Will there be time to even do it?
I actually heard Charles too. I've just been moving into a new place, so that's been like everything, getting the internet set up and all sorts of things. Like, so I'm still like in that mode right now. So
Gotcha.
I'll probably hear about news like way late. Yeah.
Pretty much same for me indeed. Yeah, just finished putting the, the room together. My wife and I just moved into a new place, so I'm actually glad that everything is set up for today's interview. But yeah, in between, the fact that you're working on projects and recabling a whole studio and making sure that everything is working, and dealing with the fact there's also a pandemic, so it's like there's definitely a ton of other things uh, to deal with related to that. Yeah, it's been tough though. I keep checking, on I have my news set up for the Comic Con Facebook page and the Twitter and everything. So it's time things pop up, and so if I see something that like attracts my attention, and for example, like that particular panel is live now. Oh, okay. Well, I just click on it, and I'll watch it if I can.
Gotcha. And what you guys were talking about is a great segue, actually, because having you two on here is actually a unique opportunity to get an idea of what's happening for you all in your industry. I've had folks from all walks of life in the prior episodes, prior SDCCP special edition episodes. We've had folks that are fellow journalists. We've had a publicist on. However, in terms of how they approach their con, and maybe it's going to be way different, and especially now in this environment that we're currently in, where yes, there are some laxes when it comes to social distancing to some degree, but there's still that element there. However, with you guys as composers, in terms of how you function within the industry and working on various shows, that capacity is a little different than perhaps a lot of the other guests that I've had on here that are directors, actors, where their job is very incumbent of being around, being very close and being within close proximity to other folks that they're working with, and that may not be the case necessarily with you guys, because a lot of what you can do, you don't necessarily have to be in the room, with the folks that you're working with. So can you speak to that and how that adjustment has perhaps made things, I'm assuming, far busier, or maybe just a little, or about the same in terms of maybe workload, or what you're doing?
Yeah, actually, for for me, the when the shutdown started occurring, I was actually fortunate to keep going on whatever was filmed. So I think Legends of Tomorrow, we finished the whole season, and then Supergirl, they had shot everything except the final episode. So we were able to finish that in post production, thankfully. So as far as like the pre-existing shows, now it's just a matter of waiting until something's shot and edited, and then we can work on whatever they have for us at will. Also, like if we do need to record live musicians now, a lot of people have it set up so that they can record from home. A lot of the contractors have reached out and they've got enough players to cover our needs. So it's really fascinating. Like everyone will get the tracks and then they'll lay it down and then we'll edit it and put it in. So that's an option now, which is there's pluses and minuses to that. So yeah, we're fortunate enough that almost anything in post production can be done safely from home or without being around a ton of people. Or if you see photos of recording sessions now, I know London's starting to do some. They've got them spaced out pretty far and much smaller orchestras and ensembles. So yeah, I think we're coping as best we can, and there are options going forward.
Yeah, same thing here. In that regard, at the beginning, the pandemic didn't affect my work too much because even though a lot of the musicians I work with are based in Los Angeles traffic is such that we were already working in a pandemic environment. So I was already set up like my go-to musicians that I've been working with for a few years now are already all set up with their studios, and so that didn't really affect my work. And like Daniel was saying, a lot of the projects when the pandemic happened, the lockdown happened, I was working on projects that were in post prod. So it was music and color correction that was happening on the thing. So that was not really a problem. What turned out to be a problem for me, however, was a lot of projects that were in pre-production that I was looking forward to work on, like end of April, beginning of May, got completely canceled. And right now, unfortunately, some of them also lost their investments, and so a lot of them probably won't start basically continue past pre-production before 2021. So that has been something that has been affecting me now that we're in July. I start feeling it. I start feeling it. And even though there are talks about reopening the industry and stuff like that, like a lot of productions are not equipped or are still trying to figure out how they can make that happen. Particularly when it's on the lower budget side. Uh, all these extra security measures add cost to all of a sudden a director or producer has to budget for $2,000 worth of hand sanitizer. Uh, so on tight budgets, it can become a problem. So that's what's been happening. So otherwise, yeah, the musicians I work with, like we were able to finish, we recorded. Like I'm usually set up with the audio workstation I work on. You can actually like set it up so that the person is in the same room with you, like you're live. You're set up with like your little webcam thing, and they record in real time in your software. So that's pretty cool, and that's the way I've been working for the past at least 3 or 4 years. Um, each time I work with live musicians. Um, so so yeah, in that regard, it's been fine. And right now I'm using this opportunity to work on my own projects. So I'm still continuing that work of working with musicians. There's a few albums that I thought, hey, I never had time to work on, so now it's like, hey, I might as well do that. And yeah, in that regard, it's not affecting at all. And actually, it's been even better because a lot of musicians that I used to want to work with who were not set up for that, and with whom you had to go to an actual studio to record, now had to equip themselves. So now it actually opened doors in that regard.
I was gonna say, gentlemen, with all of that being said, with what we will now have with the virtual edition of Comic Con, with Comic Con at home, and what we have with what we may be able to get back with the live edition. Thinking back on your first con, and I know we were talking about it's been sporadic in terms of the times that you have returned. What would you say? And maybe it's an easy answer, maybe it's a hard answer. What would you say is your best Comic Con memory of all, out of the times that you've had an opportunity to go? And maybe it's just the one that you provided earlier, maybe not.
Well, I guess for me, the best will be after Nobility's premiere, and we all got out with Tori Higginson, Christopher Judge, Kassenvar, and we went to our hotel rooms, and we had a giant, after party. That was nice. We had a lot of fun. And if someone would have told me 15 years ago that when I was in France watching SG1, that I'd be in a hotel room with those guys and enjoying nice whiskey, and I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was the first time I went. I can't remember which year it was, but there was a composer panel, and it was the heyday of like Ant-Man, and just superhero composers were there, and yeah, there was like a little after party at one of the bars in the hotel, and just having like Christoph Beck there, Marco Beltrami, and just a bunch of like that caliber of people just right around you, like socializing and talking about their projects. That was just awesome because it just helped you like realize, okay, yeah, like they're at the top level, but you know they're people too, and you know they have stories, they have origin stories, they have, you know, you can interact with them and you can feel out how they got into the business, and so that for me was a big highlight. And I think at that same party, like Joss Whedon, like walked in, and it was just like, wow, okay, we're here. You know, this is it. So that was my favorite time, I think.
All right, awesome. Well, guys, I'm gonna cap it off there. Thank you guys so much for coming on this edition of SDCC Peeps. Before I let you guys go, can you tell folks where they can, you know, find your work and where they can find you on social media?
Sure. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Facebook. My Twitter handle is right there, DJC242. Also, you can hear stuff on my website, danieljameschan.com. Got stuff from the shows and beyond.
And same thing for me, Twitter, at Charles-Avelange, in one word. And otherwise, my official website, which is my full name, all attached, .com, charleshenri-avelange.com. And also, I've been quite fond of Instagram as of late, so you can find me there. Same thing at Charles-Henri-Avelange, and I've been responding quite a bit there. Little anecdote: I apparently won. I was just texted an hour ago. I actually won a little competition for Bastille Day with the French consulate. So
Nice.
you can see the picture.
Congratulations, sir.
You can see the picture, the winning contest. I made a little Bastille cake, a little castle cake.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Cool.
All right, awesome. Well, there you guys have it. For those of you that are watching, thanks so much for checking out this special edition episode known as SDCC Peeps. I'm your host, Brandon Troy. You can find us obviously on Facebook, which you are watching now live. You can also find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD. You can find us on Instagram at Mover Shakers Unlimited. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Troy ENT, and also on Instagram at Brandon Troy _ENT. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there. And otherwise, I will see you soon. Have a good one. Bye.